Hey, it's Dan Rex here. Welcome back to my channel where I use a data-driven approach to improve in Valorant from a beginner's perspective. 2 weeks ago, I doubled my kills with headshot training. And last week, I had an 85% win rate in close range fights by mastering gun hygiene. I was still absolutely killing it in the 0 to 5 meter range, and in fact my kill success rate rose to 85%, winning 85% of my fights. So this week I took on a new challenge with a training regime inspired by RoyalG, who was helping NattyAim, and I'm doing that to see if I can push my aim that little bit further. So let's dive in and see how it went, and as always, come along for the ride and join me on my journey. And before I start, guys, we're almost at 150 subs. It was only last week we were at 100. So I really do want to appreciate you all for your support. Thank you so much. You guys are the best. This week, I'm incorporating exercises from RoyalG, a Radiant coach who helped NattyAim with aim drills that focused on transferring aim mechanics into real game situations. I've been aim training for a couple of months now, but that aim just hasn't seemed to have transferred across into real matches. RoyalG created some drills to help with that. NattyAim, who's been following this regime, has seen some great success, so I wanted to see if this approach would bridge the gap for me too. I'll show you each exercise, talk about the improvements I've made, and then see how it all translated into my gameplay, and I'll obviously link both of their channels in the description. Okay, so the first exercise that RoyalG gave NattyAim was the eliminate 100, right? And so you do this, and then each bot will appear. Now, the important thing for me is I'm trying to make sure that I'm strafing on them, right? Because in a real game situation, I'm not just gonna stand still, because that's not good, right? That's what I'm trying. So I'm always trying to teach myself to stay moving, and then I want to stop briefly and shoot, and I'm gonna miss because you guys were watching. Yeah, right. So you basically want to strafe like that. So I'm always trying to sort of do that, but then kind of speed it up a little bit. Like so. And then I would record the time, and then I was trying to sort of do a little mini game to improve my time each time I did it. And I would do it 10 times a session. So here are the results over a week. You can see the time on the left side, which is in seconds, the average time. So that's the average time over the 10 drills I did for that day. And you can see the day down the bottom axis, and you can clearly see that I was speeding up with every kind of day. Like the first 3 days was pretty equal, and then all of a sudden you just saw massive gains from day 4 to day 7. And the reason I think things sped up was for two main reasons. As the week went on, usually when I aim for their head, I'll sort of aim for their head, and I'll take like maybe a brief second to acknowledge it's on the head, and then shoot like this, or sort of a bit like this. Maybe not quite that slow. Towards the end of the week, I started to notice that if I shot before I had that confirmation, 90% of the time, I'd still hit their head. So it's like this instinct thing. It's like you've got to have faith, like trust, like that. Oh, except I missed that one. See, I'm missing some, but it's just so much more quicker that you end up speeding up your time anyway. So the next thing that RoyalG said to do was basically just do 10 medium things. Now, of course, I'm trying to strafe at the same time. And as you can see, the same thing basically happened over the 7 days. I had some weird ass peak on day 2, but if you kind of, other than that, you can see a gradual progression on me killing more and more bots on medium mode as the week went by. So I was seeing good improvements in the practice range. And then I kept doing all my drills that I'd already been doing from the charlatan video, which I'll also link, such as controlling my recoil and burst with a gun, and also just focusing on keeping my head on the opponents that are strafing. Alright, RoyalG also said as a part of the drill is to do 5 death matches a day, and during those death matches be bold, be aggressive, don't lurk, don't sneak.
Right, and then that way, so you can practice kind of like working on your spatial awareness and like understanding where enemies can come from and like where your crosshair placement should be, while also being able to take the fights when it matters.
So with the death matches, it was a more gradual progression over the week. You can see here that on the kill to death ratio that it definitely improved. But it felt like it was a gradual and consistent improvement. What I found really helped with it was, because I was doing 5 death matches a day, it made a lot of the stuff that I'd already learnt start to sink in more. Like at the start of the week, I wasn't checking corners. I wasn't strafing well when lining up my shots. And I wasn't really focusing on my gun hygiene, like bursting the opponent once I headshot them when they're close to me, like here. And I wasn't doing the proper crosshair placement, especially having it at head height. But by not doing these things, basically you quickly learn doing repeated death matches that if you don't do them, you either get less kills or you die a lot more. So you can see by day 7, I was actually checking the corners a lot better. And you can see here I was more mindful of the head height. Like you can see that the cursor's low, and then you can actually see me lift it up as I go around the corner, as I remember keep it up head height, and then boom. Gun hygiene was good too. It was starting to kick in. You can see in this fight here, I shoot him in the head and then I burst down across his body. My strafe shooting was getting better. And in this next video here, you can actually see I strafe, and while I'm strafing, I line up my shot and then I stop, hit them in the head, and then I burst down their bodies. So that's bringing 2 of them together, gun hygiene and strafing. So all in all, I never did any of them perfectly all the time, and it was definitely hard doing, like, in that last video where I did the gun hygiene and the strafe, lining up the shot. You know, that was a good example of doing 2 together, so that's where I want to reach. I'm definitely not there yet, but doing the death matches was definitely starting to solidify, you know, like, it was starting to build itself into my just reflex memory, which was really good, and so it was definitely an improvement. So, how did this reflect in the ranked games? The ranked games were a little bit more, it's sort of started to come through a little bit more in the ranked games, but I think it's going to be a little bit of a delay. You can see that my kills, the average kills per day of playing the ranked games, definitely started to pick up on the last day, and you can maybe see just like a slight improvement. For the kill to death ratio, you definitely see an improvement by the last day, and you can see it starting to climb up around day 4. And I'd say that was probably when the deathmatch gains were starting to kick in, so I guess it is starting to reflect a little bit more in my ranked matches, even though it 100% did not feel like that when I was playing them. Okay, well, here was I thinking that I hadn't improved in my ranked games, but apparently when I'm looking at this data now, I did, because this is my ranks per day, so obviously the lower the number, the better your rank was, 1 being MVP, and you can see my rank was increasing every day apart from day 6, which was shit, but other than that, you can see that I was definitely improving over time. This is actually a little bit of a surprise. I've gone and watched the video, and I realized that everything started picking up day 4, whether it was ranked matches, deathmatch, or killing bots. I didn't realize this has happened. I didn't feel like that had happened at the time, but it clearly has. So I can 100% say that the duels work. You're just going to give them a few days to kick in. But yeah, really highly recommend them. Next week, I'm going to be taking on a challenge that I think most of us struggle with, and that's mental toughness. Valorant is as much a mental game as it is a physical one, and I've definitely felt the weight of showing my vids on YouTube and playing in front of people. I often feel like I'm not improving, and a case in point just then, because I didn't really feel like I was improving in the ranked games, but clearly I was. I often feel like I'm bad at the game. I mean, I am bad at the game, and it just kind of stresses me out, and it impacts my performance a lot. So I want to try out some sports psychology techniques to handle this in-game stress and make me more kind of mentally tough. So if you want to join me live while I experiment with these techniques, follow me on Twitch, because that's where I'm going to be doing it. And then, of course, I'll be doing the YouTube video at the end of the week showcasing it. Thank you, everyone who tuned in, and I will see you for the next video. God.